Mayen, thank you for joining us today to share your thoughts on emotional intelligence and successful stakeholder management. Before we explore this theme, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself and your career path?
Sure, thank you. I'm an English qualified lawyer. I've spent most of my career in-house with a few stints in private practice. In the last 10 years, I've worked in the oil and gas shipping sector. I currently work in the power generation space for a company called Wärtsilä. Wärtsilä is a smart technologies provider to the marine and energy markets, and I head the legal function for the Asia and Middle East regions.
How does EQ differ from IQ in the legal world?
So the distinction between a good lawyer and a great lawyer, I think, is possessing EQ. IQ is what gets you through the door, and EQ keeps you there. IQ is something that we're absolutely taught at law school, and EQ is something I think you really develop and learn on the job when you have to interact with various stakeholders and customers. So absolutely important for successful stakeholder management and customer management.
Why is emotional intelligence important to in-house legal counsel and stakeholder management?
I think as in-house lawyers, we're more than just legal advisors. We're also expected to be trusted business partners. And to gain the trust of our colleagues, we need to understand the business objectives. We need to be able to think beyond our legal framework, and engaging our emotional brain helps us achieve that.
So why is EQ sometimes missing?
I think in the busy environment we all work in, we're often pulled in different directions from our stakeholders. The urgency bias kicks in, and everybody needs you for something. And in that, we retreat into IQ mode, I think, and focus on just getting things done and getting things out, and neglect the EQ component. And I think it's important to continue to focus on EQ and engaging your stakeholders and helping them achieve their objectives.
How do you activate your emotional brain?
First of all, by planning ahead. Secondly, by having empathy. And third of all, by gaining trust. For example, I worked on a deal in the Middle East. It was a very complicated deal. Tensions were high as soon as you walked into the room. That was diffused by engaging the other side, putting myself in their shoes, and greeting them in the local language. Following an understanding of what they wanted from negotiations and successful discussions, I think both parties came away feeling that they achieved their objectives. And engaging your emotional brain, I think, is key in having successful negotiations that could otherwise become quite protracted.
How do you cultivate your legal team to deploy their legal brain?
I think that starts really at the recruitment phase. I worked for a company a few years ago where part of the recruitment process was passing two tests. One was a numeracy test, and the other was essentially an EQ test. It's not too dissimilar to what I do now. I will hire for attitude over IQ. And with my current team, I think it's important to encourage building relationships with other parts of the business and extending beyond just legal. I also think it's important to have mentoring sessions with my team, one-on-one sessions in which we talk about development plans and how they can continuously improve stakeholder relationships by engaging the emotional brain.
Well, thank you, Mayen. That has been hugely insightful, and I really enjoyed talking to you about emotional intelligence.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.